Welcome to Fantastic Vision. Please subscribe us before you watch today's video. Over the years, the United States has taken the lead in many technologies and gradually formed a certain technological hegemony. However, Huawei has made breakthroughs in chip design and 5G, which has threatened the technological hegemony that the United States is proud of. As a result, the United States began to sanction and suppress Chinese companies, focusing on implementing restrictions with the few remaining chip advantages. However, as the measures continued to intensify, China gave precise countermeasures, and Chinese companies quickly responded. The more severe the sanctions, the faster the progress. Huawei's communication equipment business has gone abroad and has continued to expand in Europe, America, and other parts of the world. It has surpassed Western communication giants, such as the old European communication giants Ericsson and Nokia, and has been ranked first in the world in communication equipment in recent years. The key point is that Huawei has made 5G a global leader, breaking the dominance of American companies in communication technology. Qualcomm has been leading communication technology before, and it still collects a lot of patent fees, but the 5G technical standard has been surpassed by Huawei. That's not to say, Huawei HiSilicon's chip design level has kept up, and it can compete with Apple and Qualcomm chips. According to relevant analysis, Huawei has challenged many American corporate giants in many fields. The United States did not expect that this Chinese company, which was established for more than 30 years, would be so powerful. This made the United States very, very afraid and felt the development potential of Chinese companies. Therefore, the scope of U.S. restrictions continues to expand, focusing on semiconductors, artificial intelligence, and other high-tech companies. More than 1,300 Chinese companies have been added to the entity list, including SMIC, Shanghai Microelectronics, and Yangtze River Storage. Since the beginning of this year, the United States has not been satisfied with implementing chip restrictions alone, and has also enlisted allies such as Japan and the Netherlands to jointly implement restrictions. Regarding the U.S. restrictions, China has not implemented reciprocal countermeasures, and has always wanted to solve the problem through communication, negotiation, and strengthened cooperation. Therefore, U.S. companies such as Apple, Qualcomm, and Intel have not been targeted, and they are still developing well in the mainland market. But the United States did not seem to appreciate it, and continued to promote the tripartite agreement, encouraging Japan and the Netherlands to announce export controls. In this regard, China no longer blindly tolerates it, because dignity is only on the edge of the sword, and truth is only within the range of a cannon. Therefore, it has decided to implement export controls on gallium and germanium-related items from August 1st, and no exports will be allowed without the approval of relevant departments. These two materials are the basic materials of the semiconductor industry. The key is that they belong to scattered metals. If you want to obtain them, you need a complete industrial chain and related technologies. It can be said that it is difficult for foreign countries to solve them in 10 years. Therefore, China is making precise countermeasures this time. Now Europe and the United States are completely panicked, but this is not over. Recently, 2 Chinese raw material suppliers responded quickly. The Chinese company Hoshine Silicon said that the supply of industrial silicon was reduced due to factory maintenance, and the Chinese company Sheng Silicon said that it would reduce the supply of industrial silicon. These two items are key materials for chip manufacturing and electronic equipment, and European and American companies are also very dependent on the supply from Chinese companies. The problem of gallium and germanium has not yet been resolved, and now there are two more raw materials that are in short supply, which is enough for Europe and the United States to be busy. It is understood that the United States is strongly opposed to this and needs to unite with its allies to solve the problem, while Europe has begun to look for supplies. It is worth mentioning that China's move is not to restrict exports comprehensively, because countermeasures are not China's goal, but to let those countries that implement export controls understand that China also has a counterattack card in its hands, and it just wants to cooperate for a win-win situation. At the same time, China is still making full use of the rare development opportunities brought about by restrictions, especially the rapid development of equipment companies. Last 10 years, the United States issued new regulations to restrict the export of advanced semiconductor equipment. Domestic wafer manufacturers began to turn to Chinese enterprise equipment manufacturers. The verification opportunities increased, product quality improved, procurement volume expanded rapidly, and the localization rate of equipment continued to increase. Recently, domestic semiconductor equipment manufacturers have successively announced their financial reports for the first half of the year. Chinese companies such as Nora, China Micro Semiconductor, and Huawei have all achieved substantial growth. It can be seen that domestic semiconductor equipment is growing rapidly, and domestic substitution is expanding rapidly. Not only that, domestic fabs are also continuing to accelerate expansion, and Shanghai Huali will take over the unfinished Chengdu Global Foundries fab. Global Foundries is an American wafer manufacturer, ranking 4th in the global wafer foundry industry, ahead of SMIC. Due to various reasons, the Chengdu plant was stranded. Now it is taken over by a Chinese company, which will help strengthen domestic wafer manufacturing capabilities. Judging from the above performance, Chinese companies are becoming more and more powerful. According to foreign media, the more severe the sanctions imposed by the United States, the faster the progress of Chinese enterprises will be. Therefore, the sanctions will not stop China's technological progress at all, but will accelerate it. Therefore, the increase in restrictions by the United States will not only attract stronger countermeasures from China, but will also promote faster progress of Chinese companies.